I mean, we're just always trying to find ways to keep things out of the media.
Make him walk to the gas station to use the bathroom and wash up like a homeless person. Get a...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Crime Circus. My name's Drip Drop, and I'll be your host as always.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, so like I said out front, my name is George. I'm Detective George Christopoulos with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, and we're obviously conducting a criminal investigation. Yeah. And you're not a suspect or anything like that, so that's why I'm not going to read you your rights or anything. Obviously, this is voluntary, but I am going to ask that you tell me the truth, okay?
Yep.
So the first thing I want to do, our policy is that you state your name, your date of birth, and then you give you raise your right hand and you swear in. So can you just give me your full name, please?
Joseph Gregory Nafu, K-N-A-F-O-U.
Okay, and your date of birth, Joseph?
2/27/52.
What's your address, Joseph?
15 Lane.
Okay, and a phone number for you?
You want my cell? Or
whatever is the best way to reach you.
407-9918.
Okay. And can you raise your right hand, please? You swear or affirm everything that you're going to tell me is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. You know what you're here for?
Yes.
Okay. And sorry. Okay. All right, and can you tell me what you believe you're here for?
Well, you're investigating the murder of my sister.
Okay. All right. So, what exactly? I was led to believe that you were at the house earlier in the day.
Not that day.
You were not there that day.
Let me see. What day was that?
Do you go over to the house at some point to try to repair something?
I was working on a section of floor that aquarium had leaked.
Okay.
And had to replace some of the laminate flooring. I probably was there earlier that day.
Okay. All right. So, when you say there, do you know the address?
47 Wood Hollow Lane.
Okay, 47 Wood Hollow Lane. So, do you believe it was that day or it wasn't that day?
I believe it was because I had been working there several days, and I remember seeing Nathan there out on the patio. And I had, after I finished working on the floor for that day, I saw him sitting out there, and I said to myself, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. I was too tired after working on the floor to get into it with him. But
what was your what's your relationship with Nathan? And just for the record, we're talking about Nathaniel Shimmel.
yes.
Okay. What was your relationship with Nathaniel Shimmel?
We were family, but I didn't really see them that often. You know, we'd be together for the Thanksgiving and Christmas and holidays, and sometimes, occasionally, you know, we'd have some kind of visits or something.
Okay. Before you came in, you knew you were going to be interviewed today?
Well, Alana had asked me if I would be available after a previous appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has anybody talked to you about, what you're going to say when you come in here or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. So, when was the last time you had maybe a meaningful conversation with Nathan?
A meaningful conversation? It was hard to have a meaningful conversation with him because he didn't want to talk. You would say something to him and he would just kind of go grunt, and because last time I saw him inside the house, he was sitting there on his phone looking at anime or some crap, wasting his time. And what I would usually ask him about is, are you looking for a job or something like that?
Sure.
But no real meaningful conversation, I would say.
That was maybe a point of contention, is him getting a job?
Oh, with my sister, it absolutely was.
Okay.
She was nearing the end of her rope with him. I don't know if you want me to just talk or.
Yeah. Just so you know, the things that I write down is just so that I can look back at the interview later.
That's fine.
And it's just so that I don't forget that you said certain things. But don't worry about waiting for me to write or anything like that.
I believe it was the previous Friday that I had a doctor's appointment down there where she worked, so I asked her if she wanted to get lunch, and we had lunch in Panera, and of course we were talking about Nathan and what she's going to do with him. And I had said, well, have you guys tried the employment place in Bunnell? I forget the name of it. She said, oh, I forgot all about that place. And then, I don't know if it was that day, but at sometime in that time period, she went home and told Nathan, no, she told me this later. She went home and said to Nathan, get ready, I'm taking you over to the employment place. And then she went into the bathroom to get herself cleaned up and get ready to go. And when she came out, he was gone. So that really upset the hell out of her, and I believe that's when she moved his bed out onto the patio. This is what she relayed to me. Because, all he wanted to do was sit around, play video games, and do nothing with his life. And she was trying to get him to do something. So that took place, and then I think it was earlier the week of the occurrence. What was the 23rd? What day of the week was that? I can't. I'm so screwed up now with all this stuff.
Yeah. I believe it was the 23rd and the 24th.
The 28th was Monday, 27th, Sunday, 26th was Saturday, 25th was Friday, so it was Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, I can get it here in a second.
Within a couple of days beforehand, he had an appointment to go over to the job place. and talk to them.
Right.
And she later, that same day, she relayed to me because
It was the 23rd.
yes, I know the 23rd was when it happened. She relayed to me that when she got up that morning of the day that he had the appointment for the job place interview or meeting, whatever, she got up to go to work, and he had apparently stayed up all night playing video games. And she reminded him he had to go for his appointment. So later she came home from work, and she had already called the employment place and found out that he didn't show up, but he didn't know this. So she came in and asked him how it went. And he made up a whole story of the meeting.
Really?
Yeah, that it went fine. And, you know, he told her that they talked about this and that, etc. And she said she apparently got pretty upset with him. And, you know, she texted me and said she found him. She had already told him, get the computer out of the house, you're not to spend time on the computer anymore. And she came home and found him with the computer again. And so, she was at the end of her rope with him. And she texted me, and probably here. I told her, she said, now what do? I said, well, maybe you could just restrict his access to the house now so he can't get in the house. Make it uncomfortable for him. Make him walk to the gas station to use the bathroom and wash up like a homeless person. Get a feel for what it would be like to be uncomfortable and not have this easy life that you're giving him,
Right.
And that was the day that it happened. And
There was a list inside the house of agreements that he had. Do you know when
this contract stuff,
Yeah.
she had been doing this with him, and I didn't agree with it. I said, he can sign that, and it's meaningless because he's not going to do anything.
Did he have? Somebody somewhere along the way told me he did. He graduated high school.
With difficulty, I believe, yeah.
Difficulty. Okay. Was it? He wasn't applying himself, or?
From what I understand, no.
Okay.
He had no goals, no purpose, I don't think. I believe he signed up, they got him signed up for college.
Uh-huh.
And he went for a semester. I don't even know if he finished the semester, but.
And what do you think? Do you think? What do you think if he would have applied himself?
Well, I have to say, I thought he was pretty intelligent.
What makes you say that?
Well, just, in past conversations, he would have knowledge of things that you wouldn't expect.
Like what?
Well, I don't know, you talk about some kind of wildlife and he would know about it, or stuff to do with health, the human body, and he would surprise us sometimes that he knew this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he did like to draw little stick figure type things or anime, I don't know if that's what it was, but that seemed, I don't know if he was interested in that much anymore, in drawing too much anymore, but he didn't seem to be interested in doing anything.
Obviously, his mother expected something out of him, and she felt I think she probably felt that he was more than capable of doing something if he would have applied himself.
Well, I believe he could have too. I always told them that they coddled him too much and were too easy with him.
Well, that happens a lot with kids these days.
Yeah, and when their kids were younger, they used to do timeouts. If they did anything bad, and I never agreed with that. I wasn't brought up that
Was
way.
he and his sister raised the same way? They have both the same parents?
Yes, they were raised in the same house.
How is she?
Oh, she's totally different.
Okay.
She's responsible. She's out there doing stuff all the time.
So the last time that you saw him inside the house, was he like locked out on the back porch?
Yes.
Yes. Did you talk to him at all?
Not that day.
So that day you didn't say a word. Was he awake? Was he?
He was awake.
Okay. And he didn't greet you or anything like that? Was that pretty normal?
I would say, yeah, I would say kind of. I mean, well, he knew he couldn't come in the house anyway. And I would say he didn't care, whether I was there or not in any case.
So how long were you there?
That day, probably less than an hour.
Okay. And you were there to fix exactly what?
There was a corner of the room where they used to have the aquarium, and apparently it had pumped some of the water out and it went under the laminate flooring. So I had to take up some of the laminate flooring because the water gets under there and it grows mold and stuff. So I had to take up and replace some of the laminate flooring, and some of the sheetrock got damaged to it down at the bottom. So that particular day, I just went over. I had already done the laminate stuff, finished with the laminate part of the flooring, and I just went there to fix that damaged sheetrock. So I just put the patch in there and put a skim coat on it and left.
You didn't say anything to him when you left?
No. I was, I was commiserating with my sister that she was obviously upset with him, so I was too. And
Sure.
I mean, she had even come over to my house a few days prior, looking for some moral support and to talk about the situation.
Did she discuss any of this with his dad at all, or where was Dad in all this? Do you know?
They were divorced, I think, in 2013. Okay. She kind of, I don't know, felt sorry for him, and the combination of maybe she didn't like to be alone. So he had wormed his way back into the household. He had a drinking problem. And so he had been staying there for a while. I don't know how long. But she finally realized that this is stupid. It's not going to work. And she told him to leave, I think about a week and a half to 2 weeks prior to this occurrence. And he had his own place up in St. Augustine. But I don't know whether she talked to him about it or not.
Okay. She never brought that up to you?
He always seemed to have trouble dealing with him.
Listen, I mean, I know it's a tough spot that your family's in. It's kind of one of those where we've, we're detectives and we're police officers, but this is genuinely one of those cases where we're just, you look at it and you say, oh my God, like, I don't even understand, because you're probably feeling things that are contrary to each other. You know, you've still got this child there, but you're missing somebody. You know what I mean? So,
Right now, my focus is helping Ilana.
sure.
Nathan's out of my life. I had never seen him be violent, so it came as a total shock. I don't know if he ever was, when I wasn't there, but I know he and his sister used to bicker a lot when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they had grown out of a lot of that recently.
Is his sister close with him at all?
I don't think they were close because of all that bickering. And, she also, I'm pretty sure, felt that he should be out doing something.
If you had to, if you were in my spot and you're trying to figure out a reason for everything,
A reason? Or?
yeah, maybe a justified reason. I'm not saying a justified reason. I'm just saying a reason. What do you think that you would conclude with?
I would just say that he didn't want to do a damn thing and got pissed off that my sister was threatening to throw him out of the house because of this. And I don't know, he just didn't want to end up out on the street or didn't want to do what he should be doing.
Are you, and I just have to ask this, is that your own conclusion, or I don't know what you've read in the papers or if you've heard anything on the news?
I've read very little in the papers.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a shock. It was not something I would have ever expected him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd never seen him be violent like that. But I will say that I was sitting there that night watching the 11 o'clock news, and I was, I'm on my tablet at the same time, and I caught on TV Wood Hollow Lane, and my head snapped up, and right then the phone rang, and it was her ex-husband. And when I saw the caller ID, I kind of knew.
It's okay. Take your time.
Because I had texted her earlier and didn't get a response, like 7 or 7:30, I think I texted her something about her car because she was having problems with the AC, and she never got back to me. And, which is not unusual for people if they're busy, they don't answer text right away. But somehow when that phone rang and I saw who was calling me, and right after seeing Wood Hollow Lane, I just knew, because Nate Martin didn't usually call me and talk to me. So immediately I just kind of felt that something happened, and that it had to be him.
Do you have any questions about anything?
Not really.
Okay. Do you know of any, I'm not even sure if you know this, but I mean, I talked to Nathaniel for hours that night. Initially he tried to blame it on his father.
I think I read that or heard it somewhere, yeah.
Does that surprise you?
Prior to this, my belief was that he hated his father. So, it doesn't surprise me that he would. What surprises me is that he thought about it and actually tried to put the blame somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know if that was something he initially planned on, because that wasn't initially what he said. I mean, he kind of stuck with the same story for a while, which obviously none of the evidence supported anything that he was saying. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was, quite the opposite. So, but towards the end, when he was given an opportunity to say, did you recognize the person? And that was a name that he gave. So even though that's not directly tied into this, it kind of shows you how a person is thinking. I mean, if they're going to say that. So
I don't. It just kills me that it just seems so brutal, and that he actually thought to go and stick the knife in her back when she was down to make it look like somebody did it, somebody else did it. I don't know. And then get in his car and leave. Not try to get any help or anything.
yeah, that was the whole thing is really it's surprising, it's disturbing to see something
Very
like that.
disturbing. I mean, she loved him so much, and she was just at the end of her rope with him.
Sure.
She couldn't get him to wake up and do anything. And she's out working the job, trying to support the household, and having a hard time of it.
Was she getting any help with any of the bills from her ex or from her daughter?
What I understand is her daughter had just agreed that she would start contributing like $200 a month to the household to help pay bills. As far as help from Martin, I sincerely doubt it. He wasn't even working. I kind of looked at him as a sponge, living off my sister. Per their divorce agreement, they had come up with an amount that she would give him because of contributions he had made to paying, mortgages and other stuff over the years, and she had paid him all of that and more over the last year and a half that I found evidence of.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't. I doubt if he was contributing, but I can't say for sure.
Have you talked to him since?
The only time I talked to him was the day I think it was the next day.
What did you guys talk about?
He went back. No, it couldn't have been. Yeah, I guess it was. No, the next night.
Yeah.
He stayed at the house. And he informed me that under no circumstances is anybody to go near that house. I said, what? Who the hell does he think he is telling me to stay away from the house? He doesn't even belong there.
Sure. What did you say to him?
Well, the first time he said that was earlier, and I said I had no intention of going over there. But then I found out some of the details and that where it happened in the entryway and everything, and that there was blood in there. And he was saying he wanted to clean that up. And Ilana said she didn't want him doing that. So we found ServPro to come and do that, and we wanted him to get out. And he by this time he's quite drunk. And he's walking around barefoot in the blood, tracking it around the house and stuff, which we didn't find out till afterwards. And my brother and I went over to the house, and I said, are you going to leave peacefully? He said, I'm not leaving. So I just turned around and called you guys and waited for the deputies to come out. And it took a while, but finally they were able to get him to leave after Ilana signed a notice of trespassing.
Okay. I was aware of that. I kind of, there's a lot going on with this case, and I lost track of days because myself and Detective Conrad were up for probably 45 straight hours, dealing with all the different aspects of that. Okay. Is anybody else planning on visiting Nathan at the jail?
I do not know. I know that I am not, and my other sister is not, and I'm pretty sure my brother is not. No, I can't speak for Ilana. I don't know if she wants to visit him or not.
Okay. What type, how is she feeling about, I know it's kind of loaded, but how is she trying to talk to him and see what happened? I mean, has she indicated either way, or does she not want to open that?
As far as I know, she hasn't spoken to him. She hasn't told me that she has.
Oh, I don't have any reason to believe she has. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether she wants to talk to him or not. I've been just trying to. She's asked me to be the administrator of the estate, or personal representative,
Sure.
or whatever it's called. And so I've been pretty busy trying to do stuff for that, and meeting with the attorney, and we just came from a place where my sister had financial stuff. Yeah, I don't know Alana's feelings on with her brother stuff.
Okay, so Nathan had never been violent. Was he ever, as a kid, maybe, was he good in school? Or was it, I mean, just like for myself, like I stopped carrying in high school personally, but
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth.
Okay. All right. What was the deal with him driving? Who was paying for that? Because I know the car that he was driving was registered to his mother,
Right.
but that car was typically driven by him.
She bought that for him to have a vehicle so he could go out looking for a job.
Sure.
I mean, he had a couple of jobs. Okay, he worked for Steak and Shake for a short time, I think.
What happened there? You know?
He was working as a dishwasher, and I guess it wasn't good enough for him. I don't know. He worked at Walmart for a short period of time. I understand he got fired for not showing up or not showing up on time. He worked, I think, in the western part of the county doing something with animals, and his friend was working there also, and his friend got fired, I think. So Nathan just up and quit, saying, well, if they're going to treat him like that, they'll probably treat me like that too. You know, an excuse.
Sure.
So he never worked any place for very long. And yes, my sister bought that car for him to be able to look for a job and go for interviews and things.
Do you know, was the car paid off? She was
Yes.
paying? It was.
The car was paid off. She was paying the insurance for everybody's vehicles. Yeah, she was under a lot of stress.
I bet. You know of any type of violence inside the household?
No, I don't.
No. Okay.
And I do know that I believe there were many occasions where Martin came home inebriated, which, you know, was a source of emotional stress for my sister and the kids. So, you know, they went through, I think, a lot of ups and downs
Mm-hmm.
in that household.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it.
I was happy when she finally made this decision and divorced him.
What would you like to see as a resolution to this?
I would like to see Nathan either in jail for life or executed, to be honest. Nobody should be able to do that to somebody.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had his, I'll be honest with you, I mean, one of the surprising things to me was from when his father spoke to him at the jail was just telling him, like, don't talk about anything with anybody.
His father told him that.
Yeah. You know, people are entitled to say that. People are entitled once they're arrested to remain silent. I mean, you know, I'm pretty confident that I know what happened because Nathan told me what happened.
Well, I did see that statement that the Sheriff Staley made on
Mhm.
TV, and quite honestly, I was shocked that he went into so much detail on TV. To the
That
press.
Staley did?
Yes. I was shocked and a little appalled because I've never heard that kind of detail on a report like this on TV.
I'll apologize for it. This is what happens is we do an arrest report. Okay, I did the arrest report, so I have to show a judge that I have probable cause to arrest somebody. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but I basically everything that Nathan told me after he got off of his story eventually was consistent with what the medical examiner found the next day. And then when I went to this, looking at the scene and knowing what Nathan's story was and whatever, I'm 99.999% confident that the second story he gave me was the truth. So I've got to be able to show a judge that I have enough evidence to book somebody for first-degree murder. So, unfortunately, with a case like this, even though there was a lot of other evidence besides the confession, the confession is the biggest, one of the biggest pieces of evidence, especially when we're talking about the manner and the specifics. So, I have to show that to the judge, so I have to write that in the arrest report. Now, unfortunately, the way that the public records laws are and the way that the clerk of court's office releases certain things, it gets released to the media. I mean, things that, every time we have a sensitive case, whether it's a homicide or a sex case or something like that, we're just always trying to find ways to keep things out of the media, because it's not just your family. It's your family, it's her friends, her co-workers, all these people that end up getting affected and have to be re-victimized by this stuff getting out. So it gets out and there's frankly nothing we can do about that. The laws are what they are. Other than juvenile sex crime victims. And I've had cases where even some of that stuff gets released, and it's really frustrating. And I can only speak for what I do, and I know I did not like putting that detail in the report, just because of your family and people that knew Michelle, but it's evidence, and I'm doing her a bigger disservice by not including the facts into the report, even though with some less detail, we could still have probable cause for the arrest, but because it was a first-degree murder and we were charging him with first-degree murder, a lot of the details that was important that it be in there. So I can only speak for myself, and I apologize for that. And I'll be honest with you, is your family was, and I never met you, but your family is what I was thinking of when I had to do that, and that's one of the part of the jobs that I hate. Another thing is that the whole process gets dragged out, and again, it's somebody's right to not speak once they're arrested. It's somebody's right. Mm-hmm. And we have overwhelming amounts of evidence as it is. But, as a person, and I realize that the defense attorney is going to do what they do, but I would think that even to somebody who maybe has forgiven Nathan, they would want him to own up to what he did and not drag this out even more with appeals this and appeals that, and just say, this is what I did, and it is what it is. So I'll be honest, it was a little bit surprising to hear his dad go and say that stuff to him.
Ilana told me that he's going to try to get him into some kind of psychiatric program or hospital or something, mm-hmm. rather than jail.
What do you think? I mean, do you think that Nathan knew what he was doing?
I don't know. You know, it was so hard to know what was going on in that kid's head.
Mm-hmm.
Because he just didn't interact with us a lot.
Mm-hmm. To me, and I'm just speaking for myself, is when somebody is able to call 911 and come up with a story, and then stick with that story, and kind of try to fabricate the evidence beforehand. I mean, do I believe? I think he definitely knew what he was doing. That's not to say that last week he was planning this thing or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that.
But
when I heard that his father was doing that, then it kind of occurred to us that he may be trying to do it for some financial gain for himself, because he thinks that he's going to get something out of this estate.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Martin came up with a copy of a will from 2001 that named him as the beneficiary for the house. Now, from what the lawyer is telling us and from what I read, the divorce will now consider Martin as having been deceased for purposes of, this inheritance stuff. Nathan and Ilana there then would be beneficiaries of the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan now will be excluded because he caused my sister's death. So my thinking was that maybe Martin would try to get him off so that Nathan could get that half of the inheritance, and Martin would get control of it.
So you guys have already thought about this before you came in here today, that this is...
we've talked about this whole situation because Martin is acting like a jerk to his own daughter.
Really?
Well, the day I had to call the sheriff over there to get him removed.
Yeah.
Ilana had to come over in order to sign that notice of trespass. And she said to him, if you don't leave, I'm going to have to go into the house myself. And he says, well, come on, I'll take you in. She absolutely didn't want to enter that house.
Yeah. Golly.
And he says, come on, I'll take you in.
Did she go in?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. All right.
And now then he came up and said that he thinks the house is going to be his, and he wants to live there. And Ilana was just telling me she was thinking of lifting the notice of trespass to let him in there because of the hurricane. And I said, Ilana, don't do that.
Yeah.
And, it's just a bad idea. And I said, at the very least, wait until we find out what the hurricane is going to do. But don't, but I can't control her. I hope if you get a chance to talk to her, you'll tell her it's a bad idea.
Well, these
Yeah.
these types of I don't want to influence. I mean, listen, this is like we've already established. I mean, this poor girl is going through more than anybody should go through,
Yeah.
especially as a teenager.
And she's
And-
my focus now.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I believe you. I believe that she's your focus. I believe that
Yeah, well, and we've been talking about it because of Nate Martin's actions.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know where he gets off thinking that he deserves any part of her estate. They were divorced,
mhm.
and she had paid off what they had agreed to.
There's records of that.
Yes.
Okay.
I found records of her payments that she had had him sign. And the divorce agreement showed a certain amount, and she's already paid him more than that.
Mhm.
And I also get the feeling that he raided some accounts immediately after. And I can't get access to them yet to find out.
Well, listen, I will tell you, Ilana needs a parent, and
I don't want to come in between a lot.
when I say the word parent, I don't mean literally.
Okay.
I mean she needs somebody as a
To look out for her.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if he's acting in that way, she's coming here with you today, okay? Hopefully she knows that you've got her best interest at heart. If she's sharing this stuff and she's already taken an action like trespassing her father, I think she when her senses are there, she probably knows who's on her side and who's not.
Well,
And
she's been strong. I mean, we have put off any action as far as submitting for the administration of the estate, because he also thinks he'll be administering the estate.
Yeah.
Because it did say that on that 2001 will.
Yeah.
So we put off any action on that until after the service, because she knows he's going to go ballistic, and that was her word, ballistic.
Mhm.
So I can't find out any of this information or talk to people legally,
Mhm.
as far as accounts and things like that goes, until I get the appointment from the court.
Yeah.
But I just believe that I did go over to the bank to try to stop any action on the accounts.
Right.
And the lady was looking at the accounts, and she said, "I wish I could tell you what's been going on since that day, but I can't." So that sounds to me like there was activity in the accounts.
Yeah.
And they had one joint account that supposedly was pretty much empty, but all the others were in Michelle's name only. And he shouldn't have had access to them, but he had a way of...
Well, if there's anything that seems criminal, if there's anything that seems like theft or fraud, that stuff needs to be investigated in it's a totally different issue. And she shouldn't have to deal with that. Unfortunately, there's nobody else to deal with that. And if she's got the access to that stuff, and if that's going on, and I will say, I mean, she hasn't said anything to me or to the sheriff's office, but if she believes that he is stealing stuff out of there that doesn't belong to him, that should be reported.
Well, this was only the bank accounts.
Yeah.
And she can't find out either until after we get the
Okay.
notice of administration.
All right.
And, if it turns out that he was, I will let her make the decision as to whether she wants to
Yeah,
pursue
and
it.
the reason that I'm telling you is she needs to have somebody that can tell her to do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people don't even have, especially young people, whether responsible or not, they've never dealt with that.
Right.
And they don't even, they think it's because it's dealing with banks and marriages or whatever, oh, it's just a financial thing, what am I going to do? Well, no, I mean, if it's a fraud, if he is, and there's been people who, and I don't know any details about it, but I'm just saying, you know, forging each other's signatures or things of that nature. If that stuff is going on, then, you know, I would encourage her to report that, but I'm not going to be there with her. Hopefully you will. So if she's not sure, but it looks like it, still report it, and that way we will look into it. Because, again, as much as she's dealing with right now, and she doesn't need to deal with that, she does need.
I mean,
somebody's got to deal with it.
I don't want to drive a wedge between her and her father if they can possibly have a relationship down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would be great if he can be sober and
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can, just from his past history.
I got you. Is there any other information that you can provide me that would be beneficial to me in my investigation?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Okay. And I gave away all my cards. No, I didn't. This is my card. You can contact, if you have anything with this case, you can contact Detective Conrad or myself. We're both working it. I mean, we're going to do everything that we can to see that nothing will ever make this right, but
Absolutely, there's no way to make it right.
we'll do our best to make sure that this case is handled as well as it possibly can be. That's the best we can do. If there's anything that that Ilana gets stuck with and she doesn't know how to proceed, again, the victim advocates, I mean, and the stuff that they have access to, and they can call in a lot of favors, and they can help in ways that sometimes surprise me when when they tell me what they've been able to do for a victim. So even though she's not the victim per se, we look at her as a victim of this whole thing, and they may be at least able to point her in the right direction if she's confused about something. I just, I don't know, when something like this happens, honestly, as an investigator and as a detective in charge of handling some of this stuff, if I see Nathan all of a sudden say, yeah, it was a masked man that did it, he ran away, if that's how his story changes again all of a sudden, or, I don't, I didn't say any of that stuff, I didn't admit to anything, obviously that stuff pisses me off, and I feel like the first step towards that is telling him, we don't discuss anything involving the case and whatever. And because I'll be honest, if it's me, I'm probably saying, okay, listen, you effed up and you did this, and you know what? Nothing's ever going to make that right, but you need to own up for what you did, and we need to move forward. And if that means you sitting in here for the next 20, 30 years, then that's it. But, when are you going to play hardball and pretend like none of this stuff ever happened? That's not right. And that's going to probably, drag the family through even more stuff rather than, you just own up for it and we move on, and you guys hopefully move on, rather than having this be some trial that goes through courts for weeks and weeks and weeks. You know what I mean? So, whatever, especially Ilana needs, though, she can come here, and one of the victim advocates will get with her. They're fantastic. They'll drop whatever they have going on to try to help her.
I think she has been dealing with one of them.
Okay. And as somebody who's going to be taking probably a more active parental role in her life, even though she is an adult, right?
She's 19.
Okay. Well, she's technically an adult, but she's not really an adult, you know. You know, talk to her about counseling, because something that may have not, you know, one day, and if she doesn't go to counseling, one day in 15 years, she's dealing with something and she doesn't know where it's coming from or whatever. I mean, she needs to talk about it at some point. And I don't know where she is in her grieving process. But the grieving process is going to probably be hardest for her.
I imagine.
And she needs to be able to have somebody to talk about it. And, you know, I can't, people feel all kinds of things when something like this happens. And, you know, it's important that she gets it out so that she doesn't, for one reason or another, end up feeling guilty or something like that. You know, like, I don't know how she's going to feel, but she needs to talk about it. And, you know, she definitely has nothing to be ashamed of. And we'll do whatever we can over here, whether it's directing her to somebody or whatever we can do.
I imagine they have access or recommendations for counselors.
Yes, yeah. But as somebody who's, like I said, taking an active parental role, you know, you're probably going to be a good influence. And, you know, maybe if she hears it from you, it means more than if she hears it from some lady that works at the sheriff's office. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any questions? Okay. All right, well, I appreciate you coming down here and taking your time.
Wow. It's gotta be done.
Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, remember to stay safe out there, because you know it's a dangerous world.